Property Owners Association of Bella Vista, in cooperation with Bella Vista Community Television, presents the monthly POA board meeting held at the Bella Vista Country Club.
Call the meeting to order this evening. We'll begin tonight with our pledge, if you'll please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'll continue to stand, we have a guest tonight, Pastor Ann Teal from Bella Vista Community Church.
Lord, we're grateful for this beautiful day and the opportunity that we have to live in Bella Vista, and I pray for your guidance over our board of the POA in their decisions. May you bless them and keep them. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Teal. Are there any board members have any additions to our agenda? I'd entertain a motion for approval of the minutes from our September 17th, 2015 regular board meeting.
So moved.
Second? Second. All those in favor? All those opposed? We'll start this evening off with joint advisory committee reports. I'll start with our golf advisory committee.
For those of you who may not know, it's Jake Grasmick. Okay. Jake, when did you not expect me to take it? Doesn't need my help.
My name is Jake Grasmick. I'm chairman of the Joint Advisory Golf Committee, and this has been my 5th year on the committee. A week ago, Ruth called and said I get a chance to entertain the board and give an update on what's happening on the Joint Advisory Golf Committee. And this will be confusing. Don't look ahead, because without some explanation of what you're looking at, you will get nothing out of it. The first project that we are doing, I want to get you updated on, is at Metfield. And I need to give you some history on Metfield. As you know, in the past few years, we've done a lot of renovations over there, and during the renovations, all of the landscaping on the east side and north side had been taken out. And in the course of the last few years, the people around Metfield, they had added to the landscaping. And when we did renovation, we took it out and they wanted to put it back in. At the same time, we come up with the floods, the expenses, and Mark Nelson was told that we didn't have the money to add the landscaping back in on the Metfield. So a group at Metfield decided to hold a tournament and wanted to put in some landscaping. I got the services of Beth Strickland to draw up some plans, and a little over 2 years ago a tournament was held, and we placed the landscaping at the entrance going into the clubhouse, the pro shop, and we did the signage on the hillside looking across the pond. A little over a year ago we had another tournament. We ran out of money, needed some more money. And as a result of doing this, the person that was in charge of doing the second part of it, she decided to leave the state, and so we were left without a person in charge. And in June, I approached Mr. Bailey to see if the committee, the Course Enhancement Committee, could take over this project and finish it out. So that brings to that first drawing. That's looking down from Google. I met with Keith Ems and Randy Marr and Jeff Smith. You see an area that's outlined in red. For those that golf over there are familiar with this area, it's under trees, no vegetation, rock looks ugly. And so our getting our heads together, we figured the only way you're going to do this is put a curbing around that area and put landscaping rock and some larger rocks in that area to keep the golf carts out of that area. And because of the density of the trees, vegetation will not grow. The green area, the shaded area, during the construction, this area, the irrigation system has been disrupted. No irrigation, and without that green overlay, you can see it's almost bare ground. That's also another area that golf carts have a tendency to congregate. And talking with Mark Nelson, which is, as you know, in charge of the maintenance over there, we agreed that he is going to get the irrigation system up and running, and we're going to attempt to put grass back in this area. But this is not going to solve one problem, carts. So, in talking with Keith Ames, we think we can find enough large rocks around the area to put along that border to prevent carts from going over that area. Now, a lot of this can be done in-house, especially the area in red. We have the forms over at Scottsdale, and we can get the rock, I think, cheap enough to do this, and we're hoping that there will be enough money left over from the funds raised a year ago that we can buy the play-ahead markers for dogwood. And speaking of the play-ahead markers, thanks to Keith Ames, the markers have already been ordered for Burksdale and Kingswood. And thanks to the Friends of the Highlands, they've already been ordered for Highlands. And so hopefully we'll have those installed very soon. We are in need to find someone else to head up a group of volunteers at Dogwood, and that's going to be an SOS for us to try to get that done shortly. Next, go to the next couple pages, and I'll explain those pictures in a minute. This is taken over at Scottsdale. The lads and lassies of Scottsdale have had 2 tournaments, and 3 weeks ago, they had another get-together of the group, and we had an annual meeting. At the meeting, the group decided to start out with the money to put a bulletin board up at the clubhouse outside the pro shop at Scottsdale. As you know, most of all the other courses do have a bulletin board enclosed in glass, so they can put bulletin boards up of the different teams and so on. And inside the clubhouse at Scottsdale, there's no room, so anyway, we had Andy Mark come over, and we put on the spot right outside the main entrance by the patio to put this up. Also in discussion at the meeting, we're in the process of getting metal letters made for Scottsdale to put a signage up like we have at Kingswood, Burksdale, at Highlands, and at Dogwood. We're talking about the outside, the big letters, outline and so on. And one of the spots we think will work very well is right at the first tee. If you look, that's elevated, spread, and you could put Scottsdale right across there. It would look very nice as you're driving right up to the first tee. That little hillside right on the back tees, and if you look up there, I think there will be room enough for that. If not, we'll have to figure something else out. Let's see. Besides those 2 items, then these pictures here are taken at the 18th green. There's 2 pictures. And the reason I want to bring this to your attention is that all of those plantings were donated by Mary Marie and Richard Stenik. And if you count the number of plants there, I'll tell you how many. There's 78 because I helped dig them. And if you multiply that out times, you know what the cost of plants are? It's past a couple $1,000, I'll tell you. And then alongside of that first, you'll see 5 trees on the other side of the cart path. They also donated those trees. And so we're very thankful for those people for donating that. And the volunteers, the lads and lassies, have been able to maintain that. We only have one slight flaw with the one on the left-hand side. The larger print is that water. And we're going to try to extend the water line, which is by a flag by the practice area, and only about 20 feet, and one a sprinkler head should cover that whole area. So we hope to do that this winter. There's one other item about the Scottsdale. You know what I'm talking about when I said on the tees on every course there's a big signage which has all of the yardage and has the diagram of the holes. Guess what course does not have them? Scottsdale. And it has been on the budget for the last 4 or 5 years that I know that I've been there, and one of the first items taken off. So I hope sometime to consider that we can get those. This is the only course that does not have them. The lads and lassies are considering using the excess money they have left of doing the play forward plaques, depending on the outcome of what happens with this other deal. So don't put it down in stone yet, but we're working on that type of situation. And then I would leave one course without them, which would be the country club. Happenings on Birchdale and Kingswood. The same items we're talking about, the signage at the beginning of the tees. A lot of them have been filled with mulch, and during the floods, a lot of those have been washed out, deteriorating, and so on. Some have been replaced with rock. So we're going to get a group together during this next month and replace all that mulch with rock in that area to make a more permanent situation. We had another project that was not completed last year, during the past year, and that's all of the railings on the flat bridges that were washed out by the floods had been replaced and need to be painted. And some of them were, and some had not been. And so we've got a group together. We're going to try to get that done before too long. That also completed. And let's see, that brings us, I might have to check my notes on this one. Okay, that takes care of that. The support groups on the golf courses, and then of course, all of the courses that we have support groups during the past month have been continued volunteers, Friends of the Highlands, lads and lassies. They do a tremendous job of the amount of hours they put in keeping all of the landscaping. You stop thinking, count all the flowers, all the berms, all the things that they're doing out there. And then on Kingswood and Birchdale, we have individual player groups have been taking care of their own areas out there. So we don't have a large volunteer group like the others, but with all the amount of tournaments we have out there, there's been individual groups that keep those. The amount of hours put in by individuals, I'm sure, are never, ever recorded up to date. And you're looking at the one and only left right now to take care of all the country club, because I've had quite a number of people that have moved away, are unable to do it, and so I'm going to start sending out an SOS. I need more help. I'm spending at least a half a day every week keeping up the country club. So on the last page, you will see this is a result of Ruth's work, of Steve Lamar's work, and ours on trying to come up with ideas to promote golf. These have been things that have been done in the last couple of years, and you can read this at your own leisure time. I had put out a summary of all of the course enhancement projects that we have done in the last 3 years. I think Ruth has a copy, Ron has a copy, and Bob has a copy. If you want more copies of that, I didn't have time enough today to do them. Questions? Yes.
The group that raised the money for Bethany, where is that money?
It's been held here. I don't know. It's been held under a name, but it's in our, it's here. Yeah, it's marked for Metfield.
Earmarked for what it is.
Yeah, it was put under, yes.
And Keith Eames was given, because he was the president of the association this last year, and he was given an honorarium, and he chose to use that on Birchdale and Kingswood courses to play it forward markers. So that is not coming out of budget. Keith made that out of his money. Keith Iams was the president of the association this last year, and he was given an honorarium, and he elected to use the money given to put play it forward markers on both Kingswood and Burksdale to get that started, and then the Friends of the Highlands did on that, and Scottsdale's working on that as we go,
Yes,
so.
and then hopefully we'll have enough left over. If it works out the in-house project at Metfield, there's a good possibility that we will have. Okay. Any other questions?
Jake,
Yes.
I know that the project on the 18th pond is an ongoing project. That this was the first phase. One of my questions is there's a number of old, scruffy-looking trees in that photograph. Did we get a plan from a landscape architect or anyone that is giving us a vision?
I think there's already 3 of those trees already marked to be taken out.
Okay.
I know 2 have a big X on them already, and and then I know there's another cedar tree that's about ready to fall over into it. And so it's like everywhere else. People hate to take the trees out, especially don't talk to a landscaper or to a person that likes to see all of those trees. And this Beth Strickland that drew up this plan for this, we talked about that leaning cedar tree. We said, oh no, that adds character to it. So we'll see. Any other questions?
Thank you. Great report.
Excuse me, I just want to say that was marvelous. You did a wonderful job. Thank you.
Lakes? And recreation?
I'll cover the first half of it. I might leave early if John can cover it. All right. I had to leave early, so I'll cover the first half of the meeting. It was almost 100% occupied with discussions about the tennis courts at Metfield. I don't have to tell anybody that's been a subject for years and years and years about the deteriorating condition of both the tennis court and the pickleball courts. The tennis court has been closed for a long time now. It's just a safety hazard. Clem is putting together proposals on what to do about that, one of which involves just destroying the current tennis court and replanting it with grass and just making it a grass area, and then adding on to the pickleball courts and a basketball court and completely redoing those courts. We've been patching and repairing those year after year, and as the freeze-thaw cycle hits it again every year, the cracks open up. And guys, I'm not kidding you. There's cracks down there that have gift shops at the bottom of them. It's really bad. We really need to do something about that. It's been going on way too long. I don't know if Clem is going to address that tonight. Probably not. But that's all we have on the tennis court.
The other hot topic was the gun range. There is a group of members that have approached Bob and the rec committee about changing the gun range, its function, doing some adding on. They would like to see a longer rifle range. They'd like to see the pistol range changed to the 2 words that one of them called it tactical and the other one called it a combat arrangement. The committee gathered the information, and they're going to form a little subcommittee who's going to look at what these things actually look like, get estimates of cost, and sometime in the near future they'll have a recommendation for the board whether we should consider this or not consider it. The other part of the meeting after finished with a status report on Branchwood Trail and park reconstruction. We went over with the members so they had information to go talk to people about what's going to happen this week in our meeting, and the fact that we're going to consider that contract today. They were all very positive, and other than the fact that they wish we were already done, that was where they went. There is a little concern in the committee about next year's officers, and we do need to address to them when the current president leaves and when when the elections are for the new one, because they're not sure. And I was not aware, I didn't have an answer for that question, so it is an open question for them. We got a, look at my hand in a second here, let's scroll down. We got a report from Vern Olafson on the lakes and parks, and magically the weather turned cold, they're not as busy. So, but things are going good, no real issues there. And I did apologize for putting Vern's phone number on the wrong place for something he didn't do. And the meeting adjourned, and they'll meet again on November 9th.
Thank you. Financial report.
Ooh, that's loud. That's way loud. I need to turn down there, Jeff. There's the first one. This will be an update on collections. A lot of this will be from legal, and with our lawyer not here anymore, we've taken the data that they had, but this is comparing September years, 2009 through 2015, and you can see the trending of the number of foreclosed judgments obtained through year-to-date September in various years. Of course, this one right here is 2015. It's 108 versus the high of 498 in 2013. This is the number of online lots sold year-to-date, and you can see the comparison. 2015 is at the top on this one. And I think for the last 2 months, there hasn't been any lots because the guy that was doing, Ralph, well, no, these are lots, aren't they? Yeah. Yeah, so it's been like 2 months that it's kind of in suspension right now. These are the judicial auctions, and these are year-to-date September again. Looking 2015, 170 versus a high of 238 in 2013. 2013 was kind of a big year. These are delinquencies collections, and we're kind of proud of that we've done so far, 631,884. The high again is 2013. We've got legal working here. We've got membership services, and we've got some of the water helping on that. But so far this year, 631, which I think is very good for all the staff that's been working on that. And then you can kind of see how that transposes to these graphs. These are delinquencies over 120 days. These are unimproved only, so these are the lots that don't have a house on them. And you can see the trend, and this is actually September right here. The trend has gone down. That's a very good sign. And they can really see the trend down here. These are the improved lots, and they've really gone down here. And then this is the combined. Still, the trend is down. It needs to go lower, but it is down. It's in the right direction. We just need to keep focusing more effort and attention on the delinquencies. And that concludes my report. Penny, any questions?
Yes. Your first slide.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Your first slide.
The number of judgments?
Yes. Is it the number of foreclosure judgments? Is the decline the result of not bringing those to judgment, or is that? I mean, how do you explain that?
I want to ask somebody who wasn't legal.
So the decline in judgments over years?
Yeah, I'm just curious about why. Does that mean that there are no properties that qualify for foreclosure, or does that mean that we just haven't been active in pursuing foreclosures properties?
In order to obtain a judgment, to put it through the process, it's going to take at least minimum, if it's like we have no problems in getting service, it's probably going to take about 4 months, and that's a minimum. Generally, they could take anywhere from 6 to 9 months to get to a judgment status. And so I mean, yes, in 2013, they did a lot more, they worked on more multi-lot owners during that time, so you were able to file fewer foreclosures, but on more lots.
Oh, okay.
So that does impact that number, as well as just sooner focusing more on quantity and not quality, which created a lot of mess when I came in 2014 of getting things cleaned up.
Okay, okay, thank you very much. And one question. Ralph Barter, is he no longer with us?
He's nowhere. He left for another employment.
Okay, thank you.
Ralph was here. He actually worked for a title company in Illinois, and he needed to have 2,000 hours of experience in Arkansas in order to be qualified in Arkansas to do what he did in Illinois. So he was getting that experience while he worked here. Once he got that experience, then he was eligible to go work for a title company, and that's what he did. And, you know, obviously, because that individual works hand in hand with our attorney, it wouldn't make sense right now to replace that person until our legal services team is put back in place.
I've had a number of dealings with Ralph and found him very, 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 very cooperative, and I just didn't know that he would.
Wasn't it true that when we first started, like in 2013, that it was prioritized larger the number of?
There were a large number of additional sales that a lot, I mean, they were putting in fast in each judicial sale.
That's what we went after first. Those who held the most, so it was the fewest attempts, but held the most lots.
Now it's 1,000.
Anything else for Dwayne?
Okay.
Thank you,
You
Genevieve.
can take it down, Jim.
They know she was in the legal department.
All right. Response to previous open forum comments. There was a comment from a member who made a statement regarding lack of qualifications, or in her opinion, that the board had to select a new general manager and the necessary credentials to serve on the board. And in response to that member's statement, the Bella Vista POA Board of Directors consists of 9 members who have experience serving on 28 various boards and committees. Board service consists of 6 management boards, 8 nonprofit boards, 8 work-related industry boards, and 6 community service committees. The range of responsibilities included budget processing, employee, operational, revenue, strategic planning, and amenity issues in that service. The board continues to work tirelessly with GSI, our search firm, to find quality, qualified candidates to lead your POA. So in my opinion, we're qualified. There was another statement regarding the remodel of our country club building here. And it was explained to us by that individual that it had been 10 years since we'd had a remodel. And the response to that subject is as follows. This building, the country club building, was last remodeled 10 years ago. The majority of clubs remodel every 8 to 12 years. The boiler system here is original to the building, and for the past 10 years has taken a considerable amount of time and money to operate. Much like your own personal health, the outside reflects what's going on the inside. And it's our opinion that we need to focus on taking care of the inside of our facility in order to have a proper foundation to plan remodeling. So with that in mind, we are in the middle of putting in our budget a new boiler system, which we feel will be more efficient and will free up employee time to work in other areas. Remodeling is a part of the POA amenity strategic plan that your board is continuing to develop. The member also asked about a placement of water features, although he did not indicate where those water features would be placed, and I assumed it was within our lakes here in the village. So I talked to Daryl Bowman and gathered some information. And the response to that inquiry is, assuming that the comment was regarding features to be placed in our lakes, according to Daryl Bowman, the plan would be detrimental to the recreation and fishing opportunities our lakes are intended for. So at this time, we are not going to look at putting any water features in our lakes. That will conclude those responses. I will now open the microphone up for an open forum. If you would approach the microphone, give us your name and your address.
I'm Jim Parsons, and I'm chairman of the Bella Vista Patriots, live on Lake Avalon. And now, as we just are in the throes of our 50th anniversary of the POA in 1965, when they came up with the dream, and Cooper did, that let's bring elderly people here, wealthy people, build their dream home, dance here at the country club, play tennis, play golf, until they die. And we were more or less kind of a retirement hospice. And for 20 or 30 years, this worked. And this was a good plan. And it was a good thing for these elderly to come and live their last years in comfort and luxury. And so the problem is, when they deceased, why the spouse went back home to the family, left those houses, and the houses began to age too. And so it got to be that our property values were headed downhill. Young people came in and bought these homes. Real estate people tell us that a home in Bentonville that sells for $250,000 sells for $150,000 here in Bella Vista. And so young people are coming, and our demographics have changed. And it just seems like that right now, after 50 years of POA, we're at a crossroads. And we are definitely not in the dream that Cooper had in the beginning. And so some things that we have said as the Patriots has been POA go away, that we became a city in 2006, and a lot of people thought when they voted for that the POA would slowly go away. And by your own accord, you say that you'll be $62.5 million in debt in the next 9 years, and that's if we keep going just the way we're going. So it looks like we need to make a change, and going $62 million into debt doesn't seem to be like a real good plan. That sounds like bankruptcy, and so it's time to make a change. And I know that right now you're probably hearing what we might do and what we might go for the next 50 years, and I know that the mayor is hearing things, and we also, the Patriots, my computer lights up and my telephone is on constantly with what we need to do. And what I'm hearing, one of the first things is that with only 18% of the people playing golf anymore, we shouldn't be throwing all of our $62 million, so much of it, into golf, that we should scale down to 3 golf courses, 1 super golf course perhaps, to make it to where we'll still be a golf destination, and have the LPGA come here perhaps, have really a first-class golf course, but then we need to leave at least 2 for clunkers like me. And so the 18% will still have golf, but the other 82%, why we need to have something for them. And those other 4 golf courses certainly could be converted into things that this younger generation could use, like a school district, and also things that would generate revenue for the city. Another thing that I hear constantly, of course I'm told where I can go lots of times, but the thing about
I hear is that we don't need the ACC anymore, that it's a dinosaur, and that we have city ordinances to handle things, and the ACC really is doing more damage and hurting us. Terrible with the relationship with the surrounding towns, people who want to come here. And so we probably need to dissolve the ACC. And if you want to hear more about that, I have some horror stories to tell you that really does hurt us more than it helps us. Thank you for the work that you do, and I hope that you will stay after this trails thing, because when they did the survey a few years back, the top 100 things that people like to do, walking was the top of the list. And so this trail thing, I think, is a thing that something a lot of people could use. Thank you for the work you do, and thank you for having this open forum time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Bob Gramatka. I live at 15 McCullough Lane in Bella Vista. It's over by Scottsdale and O'Neill. And the subject that I want to address tonight is silver sneakers, or as it hopefully will be known in not too far future, silver and fit. And I just want to express my concern and that of a lot of my friends, acquaintances, and members at Branchwood, how important it is to us that the POA achieve a contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield regarding the renewal of silver sneakers and the new guys that is silver and fit. There's a lot of people that use that program, and despite what Mr. Parsons may have alluded to about changes in the community, there still are a lot of senior members living in this community who want to vote yes for every issue that concerns raising funds for the POA. And we're hoping that this silver and fit contract will come through. And I talked with Alex Rossi, I don't know if it's Rossi or Rosini, at Reardon today about what seems to have been transpired lately, because I know there's been some concern out there about progress toward this. He seemed to think that things were going well, and that we could pretty much count on a new contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield sometime soon. Now, as I'm just taking his words, it doesn't minimize my concern, but that's why I'm here, even though I feel good about what's happening. I still want to express my concern on behalf of myself and other people. And I think that anything you can do to help us, and I have nothing against golf, because I think the rising tide lifts all ships, and that there's a lot of positive goodwill out there toward POA too. And therefore, I guess I'm through. If you have any questions of me, I'd be more than happy to.
I do have a question, because I want to make sure that I understand clearly. We understand that Blue Cross is changing their program.
Yes, sir.
From silver sneakers. You're not opposed to them changing their program, just as long as we affiliate with the program they're changing to?
Right.
Okay.
It seems like silver sneakers is gone. Silver and fit, according to what Alex said, if you're on Medicare, he said you'd be paying a $20 fee, annual fee, for a monthly fee. The brochure I've got over there, it says $25 in the brochure. If you are a member of Blue Cross Blue Shield and have their supplement, that silver and fit would be gratis, just like it is now. I'm certainly willing to pay a fee if I have to, even though at this point I'm a Blue Cross Blue Shield member.
Bob, I share your concern. I'm a Silver Sneakers card holder myself, Blue Cross Blue Shield supplemental policy. So I was very disappointed when I got the letter from them saying that they're not going to offer that next year. They are going to offer it if you are have one of their Advantage plans, which, as you know, replaces Medicare and a supplemental policy. I don't have one of those. I have a supplemental policy. So I'm going to have to go with this new program. My last understanding from Clem, and you might want to talk to Clem after the meeting to get an update on it, is that the Silver and Fit, I think that's what it's called, been really difficult to work with. We send letters and inquiries, and they're slow to respond. But we're trying to get that program implemented here. We're not going to give up on it. So, Clem, do you perhaps have some time this evening that you could give him an update on that?
And it is Medicare Advantage. If you're on that one, Blue Cross Blue Shield is still online with Silver Sneakers, and we are too. We've got a contract with Silver Sneakers. So if you use that advanced plan, we are still Silver Sneakers, several other tax plans also have Humana, and they have still aligned with Silver Sneakers. So we will still be a Silver Sneakers throughout those next years. We've got a contract.
But you have to have an Advantage plan, not just a supplemental policy.
That's unfortunate because I don't think too many people have the Advantage plan.
That's right.
Most people
That's
that
right.
have the Advantage are going the other direction.
I agree.
And so that doesn't really. So
If you'll talk to.
That basically there will be no Silver Sneakers unless you have the Advantage plan.
There'll be, yes, the advanced plan, that's the only one that Blue Cross, now there is Silver Sneakers through other providers still with Silver Sneakers, only they've split off the other packages, some of the packages at Blue Cross Blue Shield is the only one that has that.
So if you're Blue Cross, that Blue Cross Blue Shield, you don't have, what you said, you don't have, you're not, under the Advantage plan, basically, you're not eligible for Silver.
Not, you would be eligible under Silver and Fit if we accept the plan, and we've got it, we're reviewing it. It's just so much different than the other one. They don't provide any ability to check in or work with, when Silver Sneakers comes in, they provide everything for you to check in with customers, and Silver and Fit does not do any of that at all. We put all that onto the POA to do all the billing.
Excuse me, Clement, you know, I've got an idea here. Perhaps we should have a seminar for the people that are enrolled in that at Reardon Hall over the next couple of weeks, so we can get everybody in and educate them as to what we're trying to get done with both programs and the options. Is that something, Bob, you think might be helpful?
That would be wonderful.
Okay.
Again, this is such a great program, and I think you would agree with me. And not to extend, make every effort to try to bring that back to fruition. To me, we'd be doing it for a lot of people. Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Very good. Old business. The Highlands Clubhouse. Dwayne talked with David O'Brien this morning. They've passed their health department inspection yesterday and now have their permit to open. They are completing a few loose ends and are looking to be open before the end of this month. So I think that's a commitment we can make to our village. He did want to especially acknowledge and thank all the Friends of Highlands and others who've given their time and help getting the club ready to open. We also had a septic tank issue that was going to require considerable investment, and after an examination by the health department, they determined that we would not have to make that investment. So that is going to be a real good news for us. The Metfield renovation, the contractor's moving forward. They're in the process right now of relocating the golf back office to the cart barn. And if you've ever been there, that's just that little office that has like a table and some other things in there. So they can start the construction next week. I think it's important to note that when we talked with the contractor, we did ask them about a schedule in order to make allowances for each department to stay as close to where they could be in order to continue to serve our members. And in order to get the project done in a real timely manner and in a reasonable dollar amount, it made it impossible to get that done. So while people can go to the same areas, construction's going to be going on all around everybody all at once. And that's going to be our best opportunity to get finished on time and under budget. And if anyone has been out to our back patio to enjoy the beautiful view of our closed golf course, you'll notice that we have a canopy there, and it is wonderful. It's going to be a real great advantage to our members, especially next summer when the heat of the day's there. So I know that I'm looking forward to being out there and enjoying that view, among other things. ADA upgrades, we're through we've completed all of our ADA upgrades for this year, and we've come under budget by $23,000. So that's good news.
And they've all been signed off, that anything that needed to be cleaned up was?
I'm not going to commit to that. I think there might be one issue left. And we are really going to be looking at each project next year very closely as to whether or not it makes sense to spend the money for that particular ADA project. Master Trails update, we are really in the final stages of putting our agreement together. We met today, Clem and I, with Alta, the team from the Walton Foundation, and Mayor Christie. We have just a few changes to some of the legalese in the agreement, and I would anticipate bringing an agreement for approval early in November to our board. And now the Branchwood Trail repurpose, and I will ask our Alta representative, Aaron, to come forward, if you would, and give our audience one of the most dazzling presentations you're ever going to see on what I call a reclamation, how do you say that? Reclamation project. Thank you.
We'll see. Some of you saw this presentation 2 weeks ago with Matt. What I've done is, so some of you have seen the master plan itself that we did back in April. Some of you have seen the construction documents more recently. What I've done is I've put them both together in a presentation. Again, my name is Aaron Rushing. I'm a landscape architect, work for Alta Planning. I've been in the business about 20 years. I'm a Bella Vista resident, been here about 15 years. I'm a local guy, and this is what I love to do, and I was real privileged to be able to work on this project here in Longtown. So anyway, I'll jump right in here, and let me go back a little bit. We did a master plan back in April. I met with Tommy, met with Clem. We brought a team in from out of town. We walked the site, and I've told this before, but this was on April 13th, and it was the most perfect time to look at this site. Both the dogwoods and the redbuds were in bloom. It was it was just breathtaking. It was just a park in itself without even doing anything. So I'm like, great, we got a clean slate here. This is a botanical garden in itself, which is very little work. So we dug into it, we did some conceptual plans, we did 3 conceptual plans, and came out with one at the end. And I'll go through that process. Back before we engaged through the master plan, there was a focus group that was put together, local community members. They came up with a plan, and we built on that plan. So that plan was kind of in place, kind of got the ball rolling. And you can see that the board accepted the recreation committees to repurpose Branchwood, and that's kind of where we started, including the recommendation golf be discontinued at this location. Part of this previous study is what are people doing? What does it offer today? What do people want? Where can we take this? And you can see top of the list, exercise walking, 97%. So like Mr. Parsons said earlier, people are wanting to do more exercising, more trails, more active development now than ever before. Again, part of this previous study was, number 1, a hard surface walking trail through the park with maybe some exercise stations. Community garden was mentioned, playgrounds, boulders, area climbing, archery range, botanical gardens, and then filling in the pond. Again, this was a previous study done by local residents. This was their plan. You can see there's a couple locations that have some switchbacks here and here. But again, they were proposing a loop around the park, similar to what we came up with. Hard surface with switchbacks, trying to make it ADA accessible. Again, walking by seniors up 94% in the last 10 years. Trails were the #1 item of the Green Place study. This is some of their renderings that they came up with. There's the rock bouldering play area. This is a picture of the pond. One of the recommendations was to fill in the pond, had some steep tide slopes, and it would add about 1.5 acres in the playground. This is getting into some of the stuff that we deal with on a day-to-day basis in the studies we do. Again, running, jogging, number 1, and then down bicycling, riding, and exercise walking. Again, playing into the path out here. More recreational trends, interaction games, nature and education, walking tracks, dog parks, theme decor, open space, fitness stations. So we had some very similar trends that focus group also identified as well. And these are just some examples of the fitness stations. Green space, it's a big deal. As more and more development takes place, the green space seems to get smaller. One of the ideas as a landscape architect is preserving those open spaces where everybody can move. Other recreational trends, pavilions, daily feed type use, so there's some income generation there with pavilions. Outdoor board games, labyrinths, again, more outdoor games. The design philosophy when we got into the design plays was a park will lead to a positive effect on the community. Parks are better when they're drawn from the community. There are dozens of good design solutions for any given project, and great solutions equal simple, honest, and unique. We started with the blank slate. Here's the area that's encumbered by the POA property. This is, again, the old 9-hole Branchwood golf course. So this is kind of the clean slate we started with. These are some pictures we took on the day we were out there doing our field work. Again, this was the second week of April. You can see the irises are in bloom, dogwoods and both redbuds in bloom, the May apples. So a beautiful picturesque setting until you look at some of the stuff that is not so pretty. And you can see this is the old cart path, and the challenge with it is basically located right against the creek channel. So any storm event is going to potentially jeopardize that asphalt cart path. So as you know, it jeopardized enough to where it needed to be replaced, and then eventually the course was shut down. So opportunities from stream restoration here. Again, part of the streams that were running through the property. Some of the amenities that are there. Additional the playground that's there needs to be updated. There's some people that had put their chairs out here on one of the old tee boxes. Again, you can see that the dogwoods that are in bloom here, just a beautiful setting, and obviously they were enjoying that view as well. So the big idea here, number 1, was preserve the wooded areas and the trails, and then working its way down, preserve the open space, active recreation, do something with the lodge, really pull the lodge in, activate the lodge, and then add some additional parking. This is the first conceptual plan we came up with. One of the ideas was to create, obviously, the loop around the park. And as you walk through these spaces, you'll walk through where the fairways and the greens were, and then it kind of necks down and then it opens back up. So you've got basically 7 to 8 to 9 different spaces that could be created. You know, one could be more natural, one could be more, curvilinear, or you could have one that's real geometric. So there's 8 to 9 what I call outdoor spaces throughout this circular area within the park. We do show in this one, I'll go into this more detail, filling in the pond. Out of the fairway on hole number 1, we basically create that as more of an outdoor space. You could have Hay Days Festival out there or other outdoor events. We're proposing a pavilion on this end, kind of an anchor on the end of that fairway there where the old green was. And then I'll be going this a little closer. So this is on a kind of a cross-section of that area. Right now the creek's against one side typically, and the cart path is like right here in this area. So one of our suggestions was move it over there in the middle of the old fairways, or even move it over here against the toe of the slope on the other side. Protect that investment. If you're going to do a trail down there, don't put it right up against the creek. Put it at the toe of the slope to kind of protect that. Other opportunities for interest out there is maybe some bird and bat owl boxes. There's some pictures of outdoor native natural spaces. I'm not saying we could do to this level, but there is opportunity to make that area look similar to this with some native plantings. Wildflower meadow, again, we've got areas already in the village that we do that. I know Birchdale has a big area. It seems like the country club has some native wildflower areas. They look really good at certain times of the year. They're low maintenance. You could easily do that out here in some places. This is an example of right at the very north end is where the main, the previous cart path crossed the main drainage channel. One of the ideas here is to put a pedestrian bridge across it, and then add in some landscaping here tied in on both sides. So this again example of a fairway. It could turn into something. Again, this is probably the master, the end master, way down the road. If you really want to do it, it could look something like this. This is a blow up of that area. Again, we added an outdoor little amphitheater seating area. Where you could do educational seminars, outdoor smaller events, training sessions. There behind the clubhouse, and we're changing the Branchville clubhouse we're calling it the Lodge. Sounds more up to date. Added in a dog park here, upgraded the tennis courts, upgraded the basketball courts, upgraded the playground equipment. Typically, life cycle on playground equipment is about 12 to 14 years, and it's kind of met the end of its cycle. It either wears out or it's outdated where kids may not use it as much. On the other side of Branchwood Drive, we added a couple of pavilions here and a small parking lot. Again, these are opportunities where you could actually have a day use fee. You could rent these out to events of some sort, so you actually could generate some revenue off those pavilions. This one includes filling in the pond, which obviously we started on that. But again, a large open area where you could have events. Hay Days is a good example. Maybe the fireworks celebration here. This is a really nice space up here. It's one of the flatter spots in this area that's open. So a real opportunity here in this area. A little more blow up again, redoing the playground, the basketball court, and you can see a little better picture of what this could be. And this is kind of a ravine. This is the head of a ravine here. You could do a small stage, do some native stone rock work to create these terraces down to this space and have an opportunity to create a really neat outdoor classroom. Filling in the pond, adding in some additional picnic tables, pavilions out here, and again the pavilions on this side with a little parking area. This is again a repurposing of the tennis courts, upgrading the basketball court, tennis courts. This area right here is proposed dog park, and I think we've added in some parking on this side. The outdoor amphitheater stage. This is a really neat backdrop. I wish I had a picture of this. A really neat backdrop where that old number 1 green used to be. This is the next conceptual plan. We did a little more formal on this one. So you can see that the alley of trees on both sides, really formal. We have this strong axis with the clubhouse. Created an outdoor pavilion seating area where somebody might buy a sandwich or have coffee or whatnot. So really, this one's more formal than the last one. We proposed just for the heck of it to keep the pond here and redo that and regrade it and see what it looked like. But I think consensus was that it really needed to be filled in. Kind of redoing the playground, repurposing the basketball court. I think we proposed something else there, some kind of multi-use court here. Again, you can see this strong axis out the back and a pavilion plaza area and a little tee garden up here. Pond. This is a cross-section of what the pond might look like. Again, you want to flatten out those slopes. Make it, right now it was real steep and it's hard to get around. This is a blow-up of the open space area. Cross-section of that. And this is the final concept plan. So we basically kind of merged both those two concept plans together. We opened this area up more, made it a little more formal on the sides. You want to create the space. We filled in the pond, added some outdoor fitness stations. We still have the outdoor amphitheater here, and then again, resurfacing the two sport courts. There's a blow up of that. Blow up of the open lawn area with the stage in the background. So getting into phasing. So one of the things that came out of this study was the need to, we really felt like the first phase was to redo the walking path. It was used the most. It was used out there when we were doing our study. A lot of people walking. So one of the things that came out of that was, hey, let's look at phase one. Let's look at doing the walking trail around the park. This is our construction plans. We moved into a contract with the POA to do this work. And this is basically our overall plan. Again, wrapping around the park, utilizing going across the dam here at the existing pond, moving the trail to where it was against the creek. Now we're moving it over against the toe of the slope away from the creek to protect it. Here's some bullet points out of that design. Basically 7,000 feet long, 8 feet wide concrete. It's a flexible design. We used aerial and GIS data. To do a full survey out there was going to be in the $30,000 to $40,000 range to survey all that. So we said, hey, let's do this. Let's think outside the box. So we used GIS data. So it's 2-foot increments on the contours. So we're proposing a semi design build project where we can be flexible with that. There's really two steep areas that transition down from the top of the hill down to the valley. We move the trail again from the high ground to the high ground away from the creek. We have 10% slopes maximum. We've talked about this at a lot meeting. This is not ADA accessible. I did talk to the access board. They said since we were not using public money, it did not have to be ADA accessible. I, however, kind of looked at in a little more detail is that we're going to have potentially public events where public is out there. So one of the recommendations I came up with is do the area up around the clubhouse. Where we have the outdoor area, make all that through their ADA. You sign the areas where you drop off the hill where we've got 10% slope. You sign that as hey, this is no longer an accessible route, steep slopes ahead, whatnot. So I feel like you can cover yourselves there. Again, ADA board said it's not required since we are a private entity. It's not open to the public theoretically, but I think there's things we can do to help kind of be in the middle of that. The bridge on the project is a Pratt-style steel bridge, very similar to what we're using on the golf courses. Vegetation, a mixture of grass and wildflowers. Drainage areas, it was brought up like, how we have so many pipes in this project. Well, there's 13 valleys that drain to this trail. We've designed all those drainage areas for a 10-year storm. 10-year storm, typically there's not anybody out there during a 10-year storm, so we feel like anything above and beyond a 10-year storm will just flow over the top of the trail. So we feel good about that design. All the pipes are 18-inch or bigger. Again, there's less maintenance, less clogging, so there's probably a better design than doing smaller pipes. Here's going into more of the details. This is Branchwood Drive here, going around to the west, basically following the same corridor that the old cart path followed right here, hugging the side of this slope. Small switchback here. What we did is have a small switchback, basically eat up grade to make the trail a little bit softer slope. The trails that used to go off the end of the hill were 24 to 27%. Now we're proposing 10% max. So we're going off the hill, hugging the side of the hill to kind of eat up grade, staying against the west side, putting in a pipe here. You get at the far end, this is where the bridge is. Then you turn the corner. Again, where the trail used to be over here against the creek, now we push it over here on this side of the fairway. Again, all the way up the same way, staying against that north side of the fairway. Then you start going back up the hill. This is the old #1 green. Again, your switchback. You're going over the hill. You got a pipe here. You're hugging the hill to eat up grade. You've got a small retaining wall here. You've got fencing on the other side of it to keep people from going off that slope. Then getting back up to the clubhouse, you can see this pond will be filled in within a matter of the next few weeks. We're using that dam to go across. This is one area that we had at 10%. I'm going to propose that we take it down to 80A. Keep the area from basically the #1 green all the way around here to the top of the hill past where we propose the pavilions. Keep that all 80A accessible. We feel like if there's any public using this, it's going to be using it right here. So keep that 80A accessible, and the rest of it we'll just have to sign before you drop off the hill. Some of the details, concrete, 8-foot wide, 4-inch concrete, 4-inch base, fiber reinforced concrete, tree protection. Trees are important. We're going to lay this out. Again, we're going to be flexible. We're going to lay this out around trees, try to keep as many trees as we can. We didn't have a survey that showed all those trees, but we're going to try to keep all the big mature trees. This fence detail is the same fence we've used on the Razorback. If you've seen the big board fence, some of it along North Walton, and then on the Razorback, this is the same type of fence. It looks really good. This is the bridge, very similar to what we use on the golf courses. Part of the bidding process, I selected 5 local contractors who do concrete trails for us in Northwest Arkansas. 4 of them actually bid the project. It is a unit price contract, so it is subject to change. Some of those units could go up or down. Just want to let you know that. Again, hybrid design, we're going to be out there, we're going to massage in the field, we're going to go around trees, we're going to soften slopes, we're going to make it fit within the context of the site. Now we're proposing a 90-day contract after notice to proceed with 120 days for final completion. We're starting this at probably the worst time of year, but I'm still hopeful that we can get it done within 90 days. Concrete really needs to be about 35 degrees and rising to pour concrete. We have some really good fall and even winter days that we can pour concrete. So even though it's a bad time of year, I still think we can get it done within 90 days. This is a bid tabulation we did. Again, the 4 bidders are here. This is our estimate. It's kind of hard to read, but our estimate was $538,000. Our low bid was $564,000, and then I think the highest bid was $774,000. But again, we have unit prices on all these items. It could fluctuate up or down a little bit depending on how we do the design out field. That's it. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Being none, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I love working. I can't wait to get it built.
All right.
Thank you.
The contractor that we discussed earlier, NEC Incorporated, was the low bid. I would entertain a motion to proceed with the project in utilizing NEC.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the NEC Incorporated bid for $564,168 to proceed with the trail as designed by Alta.
I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a question, has there been any briefing of the residents who will be bordering on this trail?
Yes.
Can you tell me what their reaction was?
They want it done.
Okay, so that...
We're a year late.
Well, I have not been privy to any of those meetings, and I just wanted to find out if there have been adequate opportunities for the residents to voice their opinions.
The initial plan that Aaron talked about, that actually was drawn up by Charlie Thiel and I, and about 40 of the residents of that area. And it was about a 90-ish% positive support, voting that that's the way they wanted to go. There are a couple of minor changes from what we started with to where Aaron ended. They've all seen those. I spent a day out at Branchwood at the picnic with all these plans, showing them to people. I've given them to probably 15 or 20 of them via electronic. And when we announced this 2 weeks ago that we were going to vote today, I I've probably answered questions from another half a dozen to a dozen people on the internet. So I don't think there's anybody that doesn't know what's going on, at least in the immediate area. You get to the east side, they probably haven't the slightest idea, but the people that live in that area have asked questions, been given answers, and they're all very positive.
Okay, that's the group that are my major concern.
Anything else? I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor of the motion as stated, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Motion carries. Under new business, I have actually was sent an email today by the chairman of the Lakes Committee that he had another member resign due to work obligations. So they have lost two due to work change schedules. And this year we'll be replacing.
We'll have 4 that we have to appoint for next year.
Right. So we'll ask our community to submit applications to serve on that committee here very soon.
Do they have any major projects coming up that they need people to fill in that committee before that?
Not yet.
Okay. Because it's generally in December it ends, in January it starts with the new committee, so if they can go that long, that'd probably be good, because you'd have more people apply, but if they can't, then you may have to fill.
The Lakes Committee has a wonderful asset called the Fly Towers.
Yes, they do.
They seem to be able to reach back for people pretty easily.
Okay, Dave, I'll turn it over to you for city employee access to POA amenities.
Some time ago, we began discussions with the city as a result of a question from Mayor Christie and Jane Wilms, who's head of the city wellness program, about city employees gaining access to our amenities, chiefly the fitness centers and the gun range. That kind of died out several months ago, weren't able to come to an agreement. Bob asked Ruth, John, and I to meet with the mayor and Jane Wilms to see if we couldn't resurrect that and put together a program that is a win-win for everybody. And I think we've done that. We have a proposal from the city and from the POA that basically looks like this. We will offer city employees, and there's approximately 126 of those that will be participating in this, an ID, a membership ID. The city currently pays dues on all the properties they occupy, for which they get absolutely no benefit. So we're going to offer them an ID and access to annual passes for the fitness centers and the gun range, provided they can guarantee that they will purchase a minimum of 50 fitness center passes and 25 gun range passes. The POA can break even on those numbers and give them a discount on the fitness center annual pass of $50 and a discount on the gun range annual pass of $25. Now, the devil's always in the details. We're going to have to work out through membership services how we will administer these IDs, and we'll have to incorporate the fee numbers into our 2016 budget to see how they work out. But I think that's a good program. It's good for the city. It's good. It shows good cooperation between the POA and the city, and it's a win-win for everybody. The city will be able to use this as a recruiting tool. Of course, we'll benefit from the revenue, and with 126 city employees holding ID cards, there's some of them that will also use other amenities like golf and RV parks and swimming pools. So there's an opportunity for additional revenue.
Very good job by your committee. Appreciate all the work
So
you've done.
the next step would be for us to put together a contract with the city outlining those details. So do we need a motion to proceed with a contract, or?
I would entertain one.
So move.
Any other discussion? vote of hands. All those in favor? Opposed? And just so I think our audience understands that we do have corporations that own property in Bella Vista, and part of their ownership entitles them to designate membership rights to particular participants in their corporation.
That's already in our policy.
Right. So we're not doing anything out of the ordinary that hasn't been done before. Just helping our friends in city government. Dave, I'll let you continue with changes to
Okay,
the policies.
for this, you almost need a scorecard to follow along, but we have 6 bylaws and policies to address tonight. I'm going to start with the policies. This is the second reading of a new policy 2.07, regulating cutting of trees on common property. Essentially what this policy does is it allows the general manager to offer anyone who's in violation of this policy of cutting trees on common property the option of paying for the damage they've done to the tune of $250 per tree, provided the diameter is no greater than 3 inches, or $2,500 per tree if the diameter of the tree cannot be determined. This would be in lieu of pursuing criminal charges against that person under the current Arkansas state law 18-60-102. I'll entertain a motion to approve this on the second reading.
Motion that we approve new policy 2.07 regarding tree cutting.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, signal by raising your hand. All those opposed?
One down. This is the first reading of some minor changes to policy 3.02, identification cards. In section 2, paragraph B, it states that a paper membership card guarantees the use of the amenities at the guest rates. That's a mistake. It should say membership rates. And under section 3, paragraph B, it says a photo ID card guarantees the use of amenities at the membership rate. That's also a mistake. It should say the discounted photo ID rate. I'll entertain a motion to approve that on the first reading.
I'll make a motion to approve the modifications to policy 302 as well as policy 306 to create or correct the typos that were previously in those policies.
I haven't read 306 yet. That's coming.
So it's just 3.2.
Sorry, this is 302.
302.
Any discussion? Those in favor signify by raising your hand. Those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, 3.06. There are a couple of typos to correct, and the big change is this is the change that we have been considering for some time now to allow families, extended families with large numbers of family members in a house to gain access to the amenities by granting them an ID card. And so what we're adding to 3.06, section 1 under guidelines is a paragraph that says non-primary membership cards may be issued to adults over the age of 18 residing at the primary resident. To qualify for a non-primary membership card, individuals must reside with the primary property owner and possess government-issued identification listing the address of the property as their residence. A non-primary membership card must be renewed on an annual basis.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we accept 3.06 as changed.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, we have 3 bylaw changes to consider now. The first one is bylaw Article 2, Section 1, paragraph C, and this will be the second and final reading of that. This bylaw was changed to allow the board of directors to appoint the president of the corporation. Previously, it had a sentence making the general manager the automatic president of the corporation. That's something we felt should belong to the board. That's what the Articles of Incorporation state, so this article in the bylaws was really in conflict with the Articles of Incorporation. We're just setting it straight. So we will remove the last sentence of paragraph C in section 1. That sentence currently reads, "To meet the need of the POA structure, the general manager will be appointed president." That will be removed.
Entertain a motion.
I move we accept the changes to Article 2, Section 1, paragraph C, as written.
Second? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising their hand. All those opposed, motion carries.
The next two are first readings. This would be a change to Article 4, Section 2, powers. The board shall have the power to, and in paragraph G it says, employ a general manager to serve as chief executive officer. To be consistent with the recommendation from our general manager's search firm, consistent with other POAs of our size, they suggested that that be chief operating officer, not chief executive officer. So we will change chief executive officer to chief operating officer in paragraph G.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to modify the bylaw, Article 4, Section 2G, to change the title from to Chief Operating Officer.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Oh, okay.
Why do we want to change that? Because changing it from a general manager to chief operating officer is two different titles and might involve us paying more for that position. Because the job of a general manager and the job of a CEO, they might look the same. That in the market, looking at the market pay for both of those positions, their pay will be very, very different.
Okay, we're not changing it from general manager to chief operating officer. What we're doing is changing from chief executive officer, a CEO title, to a chief operating officer. So that's a COO title. He was already designated as a chief executive officer, that position. So we're taking that away, moving it to operations. He will still be the general manager, yes. Yeah. Any other discussion? Being none, those in favor of the motion, please raise their hand. Those opposed, motion carries.
We have a first reading of Article 7. It's an identical change to the previous change. It's Section 6, describing the duties of the general manager, and it also describes the general manager as chief executive officer. We want to change that to describe the general manager as a chief operating officer.
Pat, would you like to make a motion?
I move we accept the change to the bylaws, Article 7, Section 6, as read.
Second, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor of the change? All those opposed? Motion carries.
Just a follow-up for Genevieve. Normally, when we approve a policy or a bylaw on a second reading, you will get copies out to all of the board members to update their books and change the index. But because we have these 4 others that are going to change probably in the next month, you might want to wait till next month for the second reading and approval so that you can update the index all at once.
All right, announcements. The next general manager's board monthly meeting will be held on Thursday, November 5th, 2:30 Country Club boardroom. This is a closed discussion meeting. The next Board of Directors work session will be held on Thursday, November 12th, 8 a.m. in the Country Club board meeting room. The next Board of Directors regular meeting will be held on Thursday, November 19th, 6:30, here in the Country Club board meeting room. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Since, before we
This has been the monthly meeting of the POA Board of Directors from the Bella Vista Country Club. This has been a production of Bella Vista Community Television.